Tropico 6, How to Play. So this is instruction on how to play Tropico 6. First of all, the game is a city builder production management game, and each citizen has individual personality, family, employment, and needs. So you have to build the city, produce resources, and sell them. You can micromanage individual citizens to make them happy or to impact production of resources. So, for example, an individual citizen, an individual citizen, um, you can give them certain jobs, and you can manage, for example, um, with the factions, you can bribe them, etc. The resource chain has agriculture and raw materials, which is food and iron and gold. The production chain has luxury goods, and you can export almost any item. There's one item that I found that you can't export, which comes out of the cattle in the farms. So let's just call it fertilizer. The production chain has luxury goods, which means that you can take a raw good and refine it into another material, and in some cases, refine that into another material. I'll use an example. You've got the logging camp, which chops down the wood, and you turn it into planks, and then you turn it into furniture, and then you export it. People have education, religion, happiness, employment, housing, food, political beliefs, etc. The political beliefs will impact elections, food, and health will impact how long they live. Housing impacts happiness. Employment obviously impacts everything because if they have employment, they have money, they can go for entertainment, and they can live in a better quality house, etc. And you have religion. They go to the church on a regular basis, and it benefits them in general. They're more likely to have kids, etc. And education, of course, means that they're going to be able to get better jobs because some of the jobs explicitly state you have to have a college degree. And of course, happiness is the overall measure of all the people in the town. And as long as they're happy, they'll keep on voting for you. Buildings and neighborhoods have crime, pollution, liberty, beauty, electricity, etc. So, in some cases, a building is impacted by something in an active manner, and sometimes it's a passive manner. For example, beauty is passive. You can't turn it on and off. Electricity, you can turn on and off. Pollution, you can do things to reduce it or improve it, but it takes time. And we'll get more into these types of things. There is some interaction with the outside world through immigration, importing and exporting, and foreign embassies. You can also be invaded from a foreign country. So the building priority has to be agriculture because land is precious. Food can only be grown on certain parts of the island, and without food, you don't have a game. Food is the basic element to having population in the game. They don't even need houses, they can live in shacks. Any building that pollutes or increases crime should be built far away from residences, tourism, or entertainment. For example, the industrial buildings and the power plants, you don't want people to live near those buildings because they're going to make a lot of pollution. Casinos will make crime. You want to keep all of those things far away from people. They have to be far away from the tourists because the tourists won't come, and away from entertainment because people have to go into those neighborhoods. Government buildings, including education and hospitals, should be built as a buffer between residences and factories. So a hospital is not impacted by beauty or liberty, but it is impacted by electricity. So certain buildings you use as a buffer. You want your tourism in one place, residences in another, or I'm sorry, tourism and then entertainment and then residence. and then all of the facilities like healthcare and schools, and then you put maybe government buildings, and then your industrial buildings. And if you do it in that order, then the pollution is far away from the beauty. The pollution and the crime is far away from the people. That's how you separate them. Some buildings, such as TV, radio, and newspapers, must be built in range of residences. So the TV and radio and newspaper, they don't work unless it's near the residents. The people don't go to these buildings. The tourists will visit entertainment buildings, so entertainment buildings should be built between the residents and the tourist hotels. Use police departments in crime-ridden areas. Another advantage of the police is that they will help in case you get invaded or if there are rebels. Production buildings can be built near ports and docks because those items will be exported. Everything that you produce, cars, jewelry, rum, etc., that's all going to be exported. So, the few exceptions, maybe canned goods would be an exception. It's all going to be exported. So, just build them where the docks are, and it will be a short distance to get them exported. People need people need to live near where they work or near some form of transportation between residence and work. In general, you put the houses near where they work because if you don't, they'll start building shacks. However, you can use the metro and you can put the metro where the jobs are and the metro where people live, and people will ride the metro in order to get to where they work. I'll use the example on mine. I made like 20 high schools, and with maximum capacity, people were riding the metro in order to get to the high schools. Your population needs food to survive. So this is Tropico 6 how to start. You should start by building farms and fishing. Without food, there's no game. They don't even need houses, they don't need entertainment or healthcare, etc. You will need money in order to build. That requires a dock and people to move goods. You need to build a dock in order to earn money, and you need people, the teamsters, to move everything to the dock, otherwise you can't get money. You should look for raw materials such as coal or iron because eventually you'll have to build mines and eventually you'll need the raw materials. In order to improve the quality of life, you need to build apartments, medical facilities, schools, and entertainment. Government buildings can be placed near your mansion or as a buffer between manufacturing and residences. I usually build them near the mansion so I know where they all are, but you don't have to build them there. You will need to build a small military to defend your island. At first, the problem is going to be small, but it will become greater. You're going to need the aircraft carrier, the airplanes, the tanks, the barracks, the soldiers. Start out with the police department, but eventually you're going to want to build the military. It's better to have people that can walk around than to have defensive towers. Tropico 6 building suggestions. Build your docks on the beaches along with fishing. You put fishing wherever you can't build a dock. Build production facilities and factories near the docks. You may also want to build power plants in this area, although it's not necessary, an airport, and police. Employees need places to live, so build homes, a grocery store, and a tavern. You might want to build everything that pollutes on one island and have another island with all the people, another island with all the farms, and another island with all the tourism. Build farms where farming is suitable. You build homes for the employees, a grocery store, and a tavern. Now, keep in mind the employees can go to the farm. But it's better to have a grocery store because they have a wide selection of foods at the grocery store. And then it will contribute to your food happiness. Building farms should have the highest priority because land is scarce, and the farms can only be built where the soil is suitable. Most buildings can be built anywhere, so those buildings have a lower priority. Build small buildings such as small houses on the outskirts of your town along hills where the shape of the terrain is irregular. So, look over here on the left, it's straight, and on the side, it's irregular. With all the little gaps is where you build all the houses and all the small buildings. You want to fill in all those gaps with parks and things like that. Or with the metro, there's another small building, the electrical system, the substation, but it doesn't make sense to do it that way. People have to walk or use other transport from the residence to the place of employment, to the grocery stores, to the taverns, churches, and schools. If the buildings are close together, they spend less time walking. If they're far apart, it's harder for them to satisfy their needs, such as food. So you got to make sure they have the metro and buses, and there's an edict that allows them to own cars. I guess it's even if they're not going to work, they can still drive a car. And I've had traffic jams, but it's never really been that bad. So this is my instructional guide on how to play Tropico 6. You can go to my forum at cheapbooks.cc. I'm the owner of cheapbooks.com. That's me on the right. Go to the video game section, City Builders, and look for Tropico 6. There's actually a lot of great tutorials over here, and also for the other Tropico games, and I'll answer all of your questions. And there are videos on YouTube. If you have any questions or comments, please post below.